when you build your first apartment building, it needs to be a home run or you're never going to build your second building, right? And so I've come to the realization that, none of you guys are going to build apartments if it's got a tremendous amount of risk to it and there's a chance of earning less money than what you're in the asset class you're in right now, right? So you've got to make more money with a measured amount of risk for that money, right? That risk, to a large extent, is the lease up, because you already know how to find land, you already know how to build, you already know that stuff. It's the lease up, and the lease up really isn't that risky if you take the time to understand it, but you need to understand it. If you don't understand it, you just won't build. And typically turning your property over to a third-party manager who's just managed, older rent-controlled assets, they're not going to have the sophistication or be sharp enough to manage it. So let's just say, there's a row of buildings in that yellow space there. There's a parking lot, right? And you own the building right next door to it, and the city, even the as-of-right zoning, will allow you to build another building exactly the same size, right? And that would be great. The land would be free. You could build another building right beside it. You could put amenities here, all the things I've said. And people go ahead and do that. But what I say is, hold on a minute. Before you do that, okay, and then I say you're going to get a lift in the rent of the building you already own, right, to the one next door. Fair enough? Because you're going to build a brand new building right beside it. In a sense, you've kind of fixed up the neighborhood, right? Your front driveway now, instead of having 100 units, you've got 200 units. So you can put in a better gate, you can put in a better alarm system, you can do better landscaping because you're dividing it now by 200, but it's still one entrance. You see the point, right? Okay, so the thing to do here, and this is, I'm going to show you a specific example and how we thought it through, was you've got to look at the old building first before you start building the new building, okay? Because first of all, if I'm an A guy going to live in an A building, I don't want to be having a C building next door. That makes sense, right? I don't want to be sharing the pool with the guy, okay? Or whatever it is. So I've got to take that C building, and it's never going to be an A, because I can't have 4-pipe air conditioning, I can't have a 2-washer dryer, but maybe I can make it an A minus. The area is already good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be considering building a new building, right? So I want to go to the next slide and I'm not going to walk through this in a great deal of detail, but we're happy to spend some time with you. So the first thing is just an overview. So the scenario here is you've got an apartment building, or you're buying an apartment building that has extra dirt there, right? And you can intensify it with another building of equal size, townhouses, whatever the case is. But the first thing to do is to just sort of take a bit of an inventory of the building, its location. So if the location is a C, forget it, this isn't going to work. Right? You're not going to build a brand new apartment in the C area. But this particular building, the apartments were Bs. They were large. They were unusually large, actually. Right? The curb appeal, the amenities, and the facility were D. It was just not being managed well. But the location was very good. The hallways were BC. It wasn't a great building, right? And then we did kind of the strengths and weaknesses of the building. So what was good about the building? What was weak about it? What were the threats? What were the opportunities, right? And then we put together, and this is now the client initially called us in to do a feasibility study to build a building. And what we said is, you can't build a building till you get your building on site under control. That was really the point that I was making. And you got to fix that up before you build the building next door, because if you don't fix that up, then you shouldn't build a building, right? Then we kind of went through the strengths and the weaknesses, and here were the rents. So these were the options. One was just fix up the leasing operation. That was just option A. Just go in there and do some hard management, right? Then option B was do utility sub-metering and get your expense under control. Then option C was start fixing up the building. Then option D was start taking those large 2 bedrooms and making them to 3 bedrooms and adding 1 bathroom. The building just laid out that way that you could do that, right? And we said, and then here were the rents in all the different phases. So the rents on the 3-bedroom went from $1,400 to $1,800. This was our prediction, right? Once you got to level 5. They got to $2,100 in level 1. Like that's how far behind the rents were, right? Just a tremendous, tremendous value increase, right? And because there were only 53 bedrooms, right? And so a shortage of units always creates a higher price. So sometimes you'll see that the city will force you to build some kind of townhouses at the front of your building. So you create that white picket fence feeling, on an urban area. So you build 5 townhouses and they're 12 or 1,500 square feet. You'll get a higher price per square foot for that than you will for a bachelor apartment, because there's shortage, right? So keep that in mind also, right? Less parking means you get a higher price for parking. More parking means you get a lower price, right? And so anyways, so we just created an overall plan here for the building in terms of changing the unit mix, the suite mix, and so on. It was a large site, and once that work was done, Then we said to the guy, okay, now you should go ahead and think about intensifying the site and building there.